Oh wow, this is just absolutely amazing. So I'm here to shoot this gorgeous old Morris commercial truck sitting out here in a paddock all by itself, and that's the sort of subject that I really love to shoot under the Milky Way. Speaking of which, the Milky Way is going to be right over there, just behind the truck, on about the angle that we're looking at now. Wow, there's mosquitoes around here. I've got to watch out for them. Weather's warming up, you can tell. So I'm going to shoot that. I'll go through the settings. I'll go through how I set that up. Also, I think I'll shoot a star trail, which will be down closer, facing down towards the southern region of the sky. Here in the southern hemisphere, we get the trails around the south celestial pole. So looking forward to having a bit better look at this. I'll wait a little bit for the sun to actually go down, and then we'll get into action. All right, so when I shoot star trails, I'll probably put my camera a little bit more around and get a little bit more of a front view of the truck, because that'll, I think, work out my angles a little bit better. But as far as my Milky Way goes, I'm going to be shooting that down towards the west here. And so my camera will be just over there. I'm going to place it down low on the ground, as I always do. But my main reasoning is to make sure that the main subject here, which is the truck, stands out above the horizon. And at the moment, the Milky Way core is quite low down in the western sky. And I'll be shooting this not long after sunset, because otherwise it gets down too low and I've missed my opportunity. This is pretty much the end of Milky Way season here in Australia, in the southern part of Australia where I live. So, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. Sun's now poked its head down below the horizon, so I haven't got much time to wait. And so I'll just get my camera set up, and I'll come back to you guys when it's actually properly dark, and we'll continue on. Alright, so here we are. Now, as you can see, I'm shooting with my Nikon Z6 with a 20mm f1.8 lens, and that gives me just enough width to get pretty much most of the Milky Way core in over the top of the truck here in the background. So I'm happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do is shoot a stacked sky, and I'm going to shoot about 8 or 9 images at f2.8, 15-second shutter speed at ISO 4000. Then the plan then is to stack those together in the software Sequator and create one noiseless image. It's amazing software. It works really, really well, so that I can blend foreground images. Now, speaking of the foreground images, this is my plan. I'm going to leave the camera and tripod in its exact position. Now, those images I just talked about focused, they're focused on the stars. So in other words, they're focused at infinity. But the foreground here, I'm going to make sure my focus is sharp on the truck. And in fact, tonight, I'm going to stop this lens down to f7.1. Why f7.1? I often stop the lens down to f5, sometimes f8. Well, why not? You know, why do everything exactly the same every time? You know, it doesn't really matter what my aperture is. I just want to close it down so I can get a better quality image. And I'm going to drop my ISO to 500. Now, the fact that I've got a little bit more closed down aperture simply means that I've got to put perhaps a little bit more light onto the subject. And that doesn't matter because I've got plenty of time. I've got 15 seconds for each exposure. So I'm going to shoot about 5 or 6 of those. I might even put a light inside the cabin to light that up. I'll just see how I go with that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, so that's my plan. So the sky is darkening off nicely now. So I'm just going to give that a go and see what happens. So I'm going to put this Z96 video light with the orange gel inside the truck cab and just see if that works for my shot. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but I'll put it in See how we go. Oh wow, absolutely amazing. I've shot quite a number of images here tonight. I actually took a couple of different compositions while I was here, and I played around a little bit with the settings. So one I took from the front, the Milky Way core was getting down lower in the sky. So I just changed my camera angle a little bit just to get more of the southern stars in the composition as well. So I shot about 10 there to stack as well. Not only that, I stopped down the aperture to about f8, mainly because I was on the front angle of the truck and I wanted to make sure that the front and the back of the truck was pretty much in focus. So the further I stop down, the easier it is to do that. Drop my ISO to 500 as well on that. I love these shots. I think they've come out so well. So I moved the camera around a little bit more towards the front, facing more in a southerly direction to shoot my star trails. And so the way I set my camera up, same camera, Z6 with the 20mm f1.8. So I stopped down the aperture to f4 to shoot these. And I used an intervalometer so that I could shoot the shutter speed at 3 minutes. So 3-minute shutter speed, f4 aperture. My ISO was 640. Okay, so then I had my camera here, took 10 images. So that adds up to 30 minutes in total of star trails. Then I shot about 4 or 5 images, same as I did before, light painting around. Now to do that, I stopped down my aperture to f5, just a little bit more than the f4, left my ISO at 640 and brought my shutter speed back to about 15 seconds because I only needed about that 15 seconds to get around to do the light painting around the vehicle. And so yeah, I just lit from the angles all the way around from the front to the back, even put an orange light inside just to see if I like that. Now sometimes I like the orange light inside, the glow inside the cab. Other times, yeah, not too sure. So you can make up your own mind about that, but I put it in because if I don't shoot it out here in the field, well, I haven't got the shot to show later on, have I? So, yep, I like that shot. Love star trails. Always appreciate star trails. You can shoot them at any time of the year, and this one's no exception. I think it came up really well. Now, as I've often mentioned to you, I use a wireless remote trigger so that I can get away from the camera to do the light painting. It makes things so much easier because I don't have to keep going back to the camera to do the triggering of the shutter. This thing is awesome. It's the fairly cheap Yongnuo RF603. And this is the Nikon one, but they pretty much work for any brand of camera, and I find these invaluable. I've been using them for years, and I've pretty much never broken any of them. I've got a whole stack of them in the camera bag, and yeah, for this type of work, they're great. They work through objects, through walls, through trees, in your pocket, doesn't matter. It's a wireless trigger, and I reckon they're fantastic. All right, so there we go, another night under the stars. Glorious night out here under the beautiful stars. Southern Cross over there, we've got the Milky Way setting over here. We've got it all happening out here tonight, and I reckon I've captured some pretty good stuff to represent my experience out here. And after all, that's exactly what it's all about. It's about the experience. I feel fantastic. It's a very late night, but I feel so energized out here. So I hope you get some inspiration by watching these videos. I'd love you to comment and even subscribe to the channel if you feel led to do so. Love chatting to you down below in the comments. And until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you guys out under the stars real soon.